Hello everybody, now that we're on the right page, we were on my Facebook, not this one. I was wondering why it didn't look right. Then I was like, oh, that would be why. So now that we're here, our mission is to educate, equip, and train servant leaders. Our vision is to create financially independent achievers, and our purpose is to help people grow. And right now we're going over a book by John Maxwell, which is Change Your World. And we're going into the next chapter. But before we do that, we need to invite some people onto here. And here we go.
Okay, so Andrew's here. What's up, sir? So we are on Change Your World. We're on Chapter 5, Experience the Value of Values. Vision and mission are the head and the heart of people, but values are their soul. So this is the interior. This is how all decisions are made. It says shortly after meeting in 2000, he was having dinner. This is John Maxwell was having dinner with Larry, and I can't pronounce his name, who was then the CEO of Time Warner. He started talking about the erosion of values, and Larry asked me if I could write a book on business ethics, and that became the book. There are no business ethics. There's just ethics. Immediately, I knew I had a challenge. Good business ethics are a result of knowing and living good values. I wondered if there was a value that I could embrace by all, regardless of culture or religion. I needed to identify a value to be the foundation for all human conduct. After a few weeks of thinking and researching, I was convinced that the golden rule was the foundation. After all, I had discovered the golden rule was part of nearly every single culture and religion. And here's just some examples. Christianity, do to others whatever you'd like them to do to you. Islam, none of you has faith until he has love for his brother or his neighbor, for he loves for love for himself. Judaism, what is hateful to you, do not do to your fellow man. This is the entire law. All of the rest is commentary. Commentary. Okay, I can't speak. Buddhism. Hurt not others in ways that you yourself would find harmful. Hinduism. This is the sum of duty. Do not unto others what you would have done them do to you, onto you. It's a weird way to write it. Zoroastrianism? Never even heard of that. Whatever is disagreeable to yourself, do not do to others. Confucianism, do not unto others what you would not have them do to you. And then he's got like 3 or 4 more. It's unbelievable. A case for good values. It says values are the principles that guide our decisions and behaviors. When those values are good, they bring only benefits, never harm, to yourself and others. So obviously there's a big gap right now in values everywhere. A just cause is about the future. It defines where we're going. It describes a world we hope to live in and will commit to help build. That was Simon Sinek. Transformation is just a cause for worthy commitment. And John goes into, he says, Rob and I have the best, are giving our best for it. My just came to equip people to learn and live good values and increase their value in themselves. And I think that's probably the number one thing that I've heard. If you can't teach people to value anyone else until they value themselves. It's interior first, exterior second. That's just how it works. You can reprimand somebody for what they do on the exterior, but it's really, really scary what they do themselves. If you can fix the interior, the exterior usually fixes itself. So, Simon Sinek said, a just cause must meet 5 criteria. It has to be for something, affirmative and optimistic. It has to be inclusive, open to all that would like to contribute. It has to be service-oriented for the primary benefit of others. It has to be resilient, able to endure political, technological, and cultural change. Idealistic, it has to be big, bold, and ultimately unachievable. It's unachievable. Like, live in a perfect world. That's unachievable. Perfect health for everybody. Right now, unachievable. Homeless to eradicate homelessness. It's virtually impossible because you could get somebody in a home and they could walk out of the home the same day and you can't stop them. Technically, they still have a house, but they're homeless the moment they don't know how to get back to it. So, if we want to change the world, we can't just climb the ladder of success. We need to climb the ladder of good values. So, it says, I would add that it must be based on the good values, the values of good values. I think most people would agree that good values are important, but at the same time, they'd rather move on to discuss strategies for changing the world. It's almost as though they take the values for granted, assuming that people will learn and embrace good values on their own. And that's unfortunate because people just don't learn this on their own, obviously. Good values make positive change possible. It says, when John's Leadership Foundation starts a transformational initiative inside of a country, one of the first things it does from its representatives from the foundation is to ask people from the 8 streams of influence in the country: government, business, arts, education, faith, media, sports, and healthcare, to choose the values that they most want to see taught. To simplify the process, we provided lists from which they can choose. So they have attitude, commitment, communication, courage, fairness, forgiveness, generosity, leadership, kindness, integrity, initiative, humility, hope, gratitude, listening, love, perseverance, personal growth, priorities, relationships, respect, responsibility, self-regulation, self-worth, servanthood, teachability, teamwork, and team ethics. Take a moment to look at these values. Which of them would you like to apply to your life to improve it? The good news is that all of them are within reach. Why? Because each value is attainable if you choose to work on it, regardless of your education, intelligence, giftedness, skill. You can basically live by all of these values. So this isn't personality driven, although your personality is going to be attracted to different ones. Just like I learned that, the 21 laws of leadership, John talks about, some of these you're not going to be good at because your personality is not going to be there, so you have to hire them in. But when he talks about characteristics, he's like, the characteristics are not debatable. He's like, you have to work on them. The 21 indispensable characteristics of a leader, you have to work on all of them because that's what makes a leader. Although your personality, although your training will help you do the 21 laws of leadership different, the characteristics you've got to learn. Because you can't be deceitful and a good leader. That doesn't work out. Although a lot of people are trying that right now. Choice is the difference maker when it comes to values. Choosing makes change possible. So good values always value people. How do you know whether a value is good? There's one standard it must meet. It must value people. All people, all the time. So it can't be just for like a certain group or the people you're around right now. It has to be for everybody. We are people of value who value others and add value to them. So I think, it starts with the interior. So if you don't fix the interior of somebody, if they don't value themselves, they will not value others, and they will not value anything else. You know, the reason people treat others badly is because they're usually hurting on the inside. If you look at John Maxwell's book, Winning with People, one of the rules inside of that book, hello, Johnette. One of the rules inside that book of Winning with People is hurt people hurt people. And you'll typically find that somebody who's lashing out is lashing out because it's something on their interior. And not that gives permission. It's not, the right thing to do. It's just basically how it works. If you understand psychology, then you're able to deal with it much differently. Good values must be personal. In this book, Awaken the Leader Within, Bill Perkins describes the differences between practice, principle, and values. And he goes on to say, a practice is an activity or action that makes work in one situation but not necessarily in another. Unlike a practice, a value applies in every situation. Values are also different from principles. A principle is an external truth that is reliable as a physical law, such as the law of gravity. When Solomon said, "A gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh answer stirs up anger," he stated a principle that is both universal and timeless. While we may acknowledge the reliability of many principles, we only internalize those we deem important. When this happens, the principle has become a value that serves as an internal map we use to direct our lives. A value then is internalized principle that guides our decisions. So this is completely missing in the school system now. And it was there, but they removed it. Which I wonder if that, deep-seated has something to do with the culture now that we're living in. A value then is internalized principle that guides our decision. Good values create stability. Transformed people transform communities. Positive transformation comes from living out what never changes in a time when everything around you seems to be changing. So it's basically the internal morals, the internal value system, that if you look at a certain group of people, I'm just going to point this out, like the Amish, 300 years later, if you drive through an Amish community, the Amish community looks the same as it did 300 years ago. Now, although the world has changed around them, their principles and values have not changed. Interestingly enough, there's no other government influence there. So, the enemy of the people. Goes on to say, people flock to be tested. One of the goals of that people not go into the doctor's office, go into the hospital. Okay, that's different. Good values establish trust. So it says, for many years, Rob and I are successful developing and life-giving programs through One Hope. One of the reasons for that comes from their ability to build positive relationships. He and I were talking about that, and here's what he shared with me. So this is Rob sharing with John. For partnerships to thrive, trust must be the foundation. Moments move at speed of trust because they are dependent upon the collaboration process. I see the trust in these kinds of positive relationships as being a three-legged stool relying on values of generosity, humility, and integrity. To work together, we must have all three. Generosity, giving up resources for the good of everyone. Humility, giving up your own importance, position, and power for the help of everyone. And then integrity, truthfulness, so that others can depend on you no matter what. I really believe that these are the characteristics that form the bedrock of who we work with, where we work together, and how we get things done. Absolutely. He says, I've learned a lot over the years from reading the book of Proverbs because it contains so much practical wisdom. Its pages are filled with insight and value, including the three that Rob shared. So generosity is the fuel for transformation. It is the opposite of selfishness. Proverbs says, a generous person will prosper. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed. So basically, you give first and you'll get back second. But typically, you have to give first without expecting to get something back. They didn't mention that, but that's also there. Humility is a spirit of transformation. It is the opposite of pride. Proverbs says, when pride comes, then comes disgrace. But with humility comes wisdom. So if you want to do well in life, be successful, you have to have a definite goal. You have to have a vision of exactly what you're trying to create. You also have to be humble and teachable, which is where this one comes in. If you're not humble and teachable and you think you know everything, then you're in trouble. Integrity, the strength of transformation, it is the opposite of deceit. Proverbs says, the integrity of the upright guides them, but the unfaithful are destroyed by their diplomacy. So basically, if you try to debate this and pick it apart, you'll probably fall apart. Good values are better lived than spoken. It's always easier to teach based on an action than it is words, which is why Jim Rohn always talks about, he's like, I give out a lot of principles. He's like, I'd rather you listen to the words I say instead of watch me too closely because I screwed this up too. No one's perfect. So respect, we treat others as we would like to be treated ourselves. We will not tolerate abuse or disrespectful treatment. Ruthlessness and arrogance don't belong here. So these are just good values. A friend shared his company values. Integrity, we work with customers and prospects openly and honestly and sincerely. When they say we will do something, we'll do it. Communication, we have an obligation to communicate. Here, we take the time to talk to one another and listen. We believe that information is meant to move. That information moves people. So just being on what's going on. Excellence. We are satisfied with nothing less than the very best in everything we do. We will continue to raise the bar for everyone. The great fun here be for all to discover just how good we can really be. So that was just a friend of his that, company value system. Good values change the world. He says, I want to share a story that represents, and he goes into a story, but I'll let you guys read that one. Organizations don't transform, people do, Richard Barnett. In the 19th, so One Hope recorded the following results. So in 2016, the programs were tested in 6 sites across Ghana with 173 students from ages of 12 to 21. By the time the students finished learning the leadership and values, here's what they recorded. 19 of the 24 characteristic strengths measured, average scores of students rose significantly. 86% of participants now consider themselves to be effective leaders, and an increase of more than 11%. Participants showed significant 90% knowledge gain from their leadership training. 92% of participants reported they experienced growth as leaders, and 100% of participants now consider themselves to be leaders, which is very cool. So we found that when you live good values, your mind will think things and help you basically create positive change. Your eyes will see things that help you create positive change. Your heart will feel things that help you create positive change. Your attitude will embrace things that help you create positive change. Your mouth will say things that will help you create this positive change. Your life will attract things that will help you create this positive change, and your feet will lead you to create this positive change. So that is what we have for chapter 5, the value of values. Monday, we're going to go over chapter 6. Transformation happens one table at a time. He devoted an entire section to this table talk that he has with people. So this one's going to be really good. I'm really excited about that. Thinking about doing a Shabbat dinner Friday nights. We've talked about it for a long time, and now we kind of have a place to do it. So what else?
I believe that's it. So if you guys haven't yet, you want to go to the Top Producer Show Facebook page and go join that page. Also go join us on YouTube and follow us there as well. Each one of these videos is going to be shared to there. So if you guys would like to go back and rewatch this, you are more than welcome to. Or if we've already gone over a book and you missed it, you could go back and rewatch it. So with that, it is Friday. So we will see you guys on Monday.